Welcome to Color Me Psychic. Thanks for calling in today. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Arizona.
Awesome. Welcome, Arizona. I am so excited to work with you today. And I am curious, what question do you find yourself asking over and over again that you want to explore today?
My question is why is letting go so hard to do? And for me,
Mm,
specifically with food and with using marijuana.
okay. Awesome question. I think this is gonna be a good session. All of the sessions are good sessions, but I'm excited to dive into this with you today. When you think about this question or the sensation of like having it be so hard to let go, where in your body has the strongest sensation or makes the most noise?
Right now, I'm feeling it a lot in just my mind.
Okay, good awareness. What does it feel like in your mind? If you could describe it, what would it feel like?
It's intense.
Okay.
Um, there's like it's a gripping feeling.
Mm,
Um, and it's just very much it's almost like a high frequency. Um, it's like a shaky kind of feeling where it's like I'm not sure fully how to describe the last sensation because it's kind of like shaky lines. But I think
yeah.
that kind of goes into like the intensity feeling.
Okay. Awesome. Great awareness. Then if would you categorize it as heavy or light?
Heavy.
Heavy. Okay. So now I want you to take that intense gripping, kind of shaking, like the frequency that just keeps going up and down. I want you to take that sensation and pull it out into a shape and a color it out on the piece of paper, and let me know when it feels complete. So this is
Yeah.
what you colored. Walk me through the coloring process. Like how did it go for you?
The first thing that came to my head was the color black. So I grabbed black and then, that kind of shaky feeling. I just started drawing some, it was like three or four like shaky lines up toward like the top left. And then um, I wrote the word why and I kept saying it over and over and over again. And then that kind of morphed out into like loops around the whole page, which was like, okay, like moving beyond that intensity to like, okay, we're flowing it out. Um, and then it was sort of it's this style that I've done for my whole, at least since high school, where like sometimes I just let the pencil go and it kind of goes in like sharp lines or waves or, kind of just goes anywhere and everywhere. It kind of gives me like, in my mind, I call it like in a graffiti style.
Okay.
Because it's kind of, there's that sharpness, but there's the kind of curves with it. Um, and then after I did that kind of top layer, um, I drew out a hand, which you can't really see very well, but it is kind of like I didn't have gray, so I grabbed silver,
Okay.
and that's in kind of the middle towards the what's on the right hand side, but it's kind of from the edge almost to the middle. It kind of actually is slightly underneath some of the three right hand leaves on
Mhm.
the weed leaf. But it's a fist that's clenching. And I drew the kind of similar shaky wavy line kind of around the fingers and thumb, kind of accentuating that gripping feeling
Yeah.
that's, holding on to all the other stuff in between the layers of like top and bottom. Then I drew the weed leaf, just using a dark green color. Um, I noticed that like it is also it was like a soft kind of not transparent, but it wasn't like a really solid coloring of the green that's like blocking it. So it's like you can see the stuff through the weed leaf, like the different layers. But I also did notice that like the placement of it is mostly covering up the Y. So that's interesting to me as well.
Okay.
And then the last thing that I ended up drawing was I heard to draw a bee, but no head, no wings. So up in the very top left-hand corner. And also, interestingly enough, it's inside the kind of graffiti style. It's really just the body of a bee, but no head, no wings, no
Okay.
legs.
Yeah, awesome. We have a lot. This is really fun. Yeah, there's a lot to uncover here. So what I'm going to do, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Obviously, you know your experience better than I do, and view the information that I'm giving you as clues to be able to make larger connections and see larger themes or patterns that your body is trying to get you to see. Let's
Okay.
go ahead and start with the I was writing everything down as you were talking about it. So let's go ahead and start with the black kind of frequencies or those lines. So those specifically have to do with something that needs your attention. This specifically has to do with cultural patterns or beliefs. So when black shows up, especially when it's heavy, it's an indicator that there's a mental model or a belief about yourself or a belief about the way the world works or a belief about something that's kind of been ingrained in you from like a very young age. It might be like a family or cultural pattern that's been around for generations. It might be something that just started when you were a kid, but there was some sort of belief that kept you safe in order to get your needs met, that your body wants you to um, look at because it's no longer serving the purpose that it used to. So it's essentially saying like, hey, check out this pattern. Because there's 4 specific lines, that has to do with your intuition. So and following your heart. I know we had talked about kind of when you were coloring that you feel really confident in following your intuition, but you feel really disconnected from your body. When we're really disconnected from our body, it's only like we're able to halfway kind of get into the intuition, where
Mm.
intuition basically has to like be screaming at us in order for us to pay attention. But the body, once we're able to listen to our body, because the intuition starts in our body, but it starts as like little tinglings and like whispers. So if we're able to listen to the whispers, it's going to like unlock another level of feeling really confident and like secure in listening to your intuition. Because I don't doubt that once you listen, like if you have a strong enough like intuitive and intuition signal, like you're for sure going to listen to it. I mean, even the way that you found color mending, I would say you were following your intuition, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something there where it's like it had to be so strong to get your attention. So I think your body's just like, hey, it doesn't have to be that difficult to get these intuitive messages.
Mm.
When we look at the interesting thing about words when it comes up, and you said that and I can see you where you wrote why over again, like over and over.
Mm-hmm.
When words
Mm-hmm.
come up, that just means we're getting stuck in our head. That we're really kind of in this sort of heady energy and not fully like feeling. It's like we're trying to intellectualize our way out of feeling. So for this specifically, the over intellectualization, it's basically your body saying, hey, when you do that, you're basically holding yourself back and you're not able to like express yourself freely. I know you're a really creative person and love the freedom of expression. It's essentially saying like being stuck in the rumination and in the fixation is keeping you from fully expressing yourself. So that's again
Yeah, that
another
makes
like
sense.
good data point, right? The black loops. So loops have to do with repeating patterns, specifically for this. And it would be interesting for you to like think on this too. Of again, it's going down to whatever this cultural pattern or belief or tradition or approach or mental model, whatever it is, like you holding on to it is keeping you stuck in a loop. So it's essentially saying like you're experiencing the same thing over and over again as a way to wake you up to the pattern. Because it's your body trying to say, like, look at this. And the only way I can get you to look at it is if I give you the same results over and over and over until like you finally like take the time to kind of stop and absorb. This is a very, very common, I mean, all of our bodies do this. Where if we're not listening to a specific message, or if we're not wanting to change this belief or this mental model, then it's good, our body is going to keep putting us in these situations, and it's like going to up the ante until it gets so painful that we either get really, really good at disassociating, which a lot of people end up doing, or we like wake up and we look at it and we start making those small incremental changes. The black line that you drew, so lines have to do with beliefs that are holding us back, because there's a lot of jaggedness in this line. So anytime that you see a lot of points in a shape, it specifically has to do with anger and frustration. So the more points that you see, the more anger and frustration is there. For this specifically, it has to do with feeling held back by this belief or this whatever it is. That it's just so, there's a lot of frustration and anger towards feeling like you can't fully express yourself, and it feels like you're being held back from like your true potential, holding on to this belief. Now, the interesting thing about these beliefs too, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, it's like these beliefs, they've been around since we were like kids, and they were beliefs that kept us safe within the community, kept us accepted in the community, kept us in a place to where we could get our needs met, whatever the needs were. So it could be needs like relationship needs, or our actual physical needs, or it could be like financial needs type of a thing. But there's something there that your body's saying like, hey, your next level, like your next breakthrough is going to be when you choose it differently or adopt a different belief. Let's go ahead and look at the hand. The hands have to do with your belief in your ability to do something. And gray and silver, this specifically has to do with like uneasiness about like the uncertainty of it all, where it's like, you can do the thing, but the thing that's stopping you from doing the thing is because you don't have like the data yet. Like your brain doesn't have the data points that it would be safe to make those changes or to do those things. This is also really common. I mean, it's just like our nervous system 101. Our brains are pattern making machines, and our brain's number one goal is to keep us safe, even if it means we're unhappy, unfulfilled, just generally like not really vibing with our current situation. But our brain is going to keep us safe and keep us in those patterns and keep us in the beliefs that it knows, because it's predictable. Now, the way to get us out of that, though, is to deliberately curate new experiences. So we're talking like just taking baby steps. It doesn't have to be like going cold turkey. It doesn't have to be like trying to revamp everything all at once. It literally is just, how can you meet yourself where you're at, get like a really clear picture of where you are, and then take small incremental changes or small incremental steps over time, like build things brick by brick instead of feeling like you have to build the whole house in a day. Just know that like you're going to build the whole house and it will eventually get there, but you're going to do it brick by brick so you can stay in like a regulated state, and to where like the self-sabotage won't come in. when weed leaves come up in colorings, this specifically is showing that there's like this need for an escape. There's this need to, like, the dysregulation and the uncertainty is so much that you need, it's like your body is saying like it needs an escape or it needs a release. But
Yep.
specifically for this, it has to do when the disappointment is like off the charts. That's when you turn to it. Um, and it doesn't have to be weed. It could also be with food. It could also be with something else. But it's essentially saying like disappointment, whether that's disappointment in yourself or disappointment in others or disappointment in something and the results of something. That disappointment is like the most dysregulated that you feel, and you don't know what to do with the disappointment, and so you look for an escape. So it's a
Hmm.
um so it, that's like the trend. So I think your body's saying like, with everything, all of the black, all of the gray, everything else, it's saying that. And you can look back at this too, like if you wanted to go to a therapist and talk about like disappointment or kind of process that and go back to like a specific age when you've noticed this pattern starting, like you can do that. I have a lot of clients do that, but just know that that's not, you don't have to. It literally can just be as simple as just tracking whenever the disappointment comes up and then choosing something different. So instead of turning to food or turning to weed, maybe it's coloring, maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's doing an activity that fills your cup. Maybe it's calling a friend. Maybe it's doing something to help you not necessarily escape the disappointment, because your body's saying like the wisdom is in the disappointment. Like when you stop and you look at it, like that's what's going to illuminate and give you insight and clarity. And this is like what's blocking you from really trusting your intuition. But it really is just calling you to like look at your relationship with disappointment and try to understand where it's coming from, see how it impacts every aspect of your life, and then just notice it. Like if you get really, really good at noticing when it comes up and what it feels like in your body and where the disappointment hangs out. So again, this is like something that I tell my coloring clients too, of when we have a message like this and we know that disappointment or like a specific emotion is the thing that's blocking us, that just means we need to get really familiar with that. So you can even do a coloring of like, hey, let me look at this disappointment. Let me try to do a body scan to see where I feel it. Like, what are the sensations that come up? Um, how does my body react? What actions do I want to take right afterwards? Because when you're able to like sit with it and move through it, that's where the wisdom's going to be. The bees, so bees specifically have to do with prosperity and finances. So the interesting thing about this, because it has no head and it has no wings, let's go ahead and look to see what that specifically means. So the yellow is coming up as like a lack of courageous behavior or character. So it's not saying like you're a terrible person and you're not in your integrity and like you're not trustworthy. It's not saying that at all. It's saying when you cover up, when you disassociate from the disappointment, it's so much easier for you to act out of character. It's so much easy for you to uh not follow through on the things you say you're going to do. It's a lot like it basically just enables a pattern that it enables the pattern. And then the black has to do with that this isn't just from you. Like yes, you've added some like your own spiciness to this pattern, but this is something that's been modeled to you from the adults. Like growing up, you saw a lot of adults do this, and this is like your little kid self being like, this is how everyone acts, this is how adults act, this is how I can get my needs met, this is how I can make money, this is how I can uh, get food and be able to do what I want to do. But it's essentially just saying like, hey, this was modeled to you. You don't have to do it. It's up to, I mean, you can do it. It's your choice. It's your life. But your body just wants you to like have all these messages and see how it's impacting and how you kind of following in the or adopting what was modeled to you is impacting all the different areas of your life. Whew, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
What are your thoughts after that? We went on a journey.
Some of the things that like I wrote down in my own notes as you were going through my drawing, there was like like a phrase that was said a lot growing up, that was around food, and was eat children eat every chance you get, because my mom's mom, my grandmother, grew up in the Depression. You
Mm,
had to eat when it was there, right? And so she would say that to her kids because she never wanted her kids to be hungry. My mom said that at our table as a joke, like, because there was always plenty of food. But
yeah.
as a kid, I did not realize she was being sarcastic.
Mm,
Sarcasm was heavily used in my house.
yeah.
There was also a lot of um, there was a lot of things that made me end up having to be really hyper aware of like moods and feelings, and I was teased a lot, and so there was like this, like, eat children eat, I have permission to eat whatever I want however much I want.
Mhm.
And at the same time, like having building in that kind of weight around me was my own way of trying to protect myself from all of the hurt that I felt growing up, for being teased so much for just trying to be myself. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with me, but it seemed like there, from other people, like, here's all these things.
Yeah.
And so it's been like my whole life of just like wanting to not sort of like that free spirit that still did it anyway,
Yeah.
kind of just got like snuffed out over time. And it happened when I was really like, I mean, probably like by the time I was like 10, 11, like that light got snuffed out. And same thing with the relationship with my body. That was probably at like 8 or 7, 8, 9, like it's been a long time of not trusting my own self or my mind, my thoughts, my body, any of it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and it makes sense that there's all of these like sharp points, because there's a lot of anger because I didn't fully get to express myself at a
Yeah.
certain point, you know, and just trying to hold on to everything. And I ruminate over so many things because I did that growing up, being like, well, maybe if I had said this differently, maybe I wouldn't have that reaction from that person or whatever. Um, so a lot of this is like, wow, like it's giving me like, okay, I know this story and I've reviewed it in these ways, and this is helping me. Uh, I really like that this is helping me gain connection between my brain and my body, because I've been fighting that for so long, and it's been interesting to see like what actually comes out in it. And the whole bee thing was like, um, it's really interesting, and I can see how like I'm curious to know like more about like what is that mental mode in the black, like that specific one I think is still like has to come out. Um, but like I do find it interesting that like that you said the black was connected to like that pattern, that belief, and the yellow had to do with well, bees were prosperity and finances, and um like I do feel like I have a really different relationship with money than my mom does. And like I something tells me that like the bee does not have a head and wings yet because of all the chaos that's around. But once I remove the blocks, like those things will appear in the drawing, and I will be more successful and more prosperous,
100%. 100%. 100%. I think this is what your body, and this is what everyone's body is trying to tell us through these sensations, right? So I just want to hold space for you of like the fact that you're even willing to like look at these things and consider these things, because really this is just information that your body's saying like, hey, this is the biggest thing that's standing in your way. And if you're willing to look at these things and consider these things not as judgments on yourself or who you are or that free spirit that you have, but more of, hey, these are the things I need to look at in order to get back to my true authenticity, free spirit, like free loving self, then
Yeah.
like, yeah, I would move hell and high water. At least I would, of like, could I get back to that? Like that's what I really think life is about, is like, how can we kind of still be our true authentic selves um in a way that doesn't do any harm to other people, but in a way that helps us just like really amplify the goodness in ourselves and in others, and gives us the permission to really love and to be loved and be loved, and to, yeah, just be that free spirit.
Yeah.
Because it's happening. Like I think what's really interesting thing about this too is like your body is giving you a clear message of like, start with the disappointment. Like if you could go back and like look, and maybe it's even like looking back at your
There's
week.
so much disappointment. There's so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So even just like start with baby steps, right? So it's not like you have to excavate everything. You don't have to go all the way
You're
back
right.
until you're 11. You could just be like, hey, yesterday, what were some places that I felt disappointed? And do I have control over like taking different action, making different choices, uh, creating a structure to where like that doesn't show up. Like it literally can just be one thing. Like it doesn't even have to be big. Because
Yeah.
once you start showing and giving data to your brain, you're basically training your brain of like, look for the places where you feel deeply satisfied. And how can you structure and create routines or systems or something to be able to, or habits to be able uh, to embrace every day and see that there's more things in a day to be satisfied with and disappointed in. I mean, it's not to say disappointment's going to be eradicated and you'll get to a place to where you're satisfied every
Right.
single day, because that's not life.
That's not reality.
No, it's not. Unfortunately. But there, I think your relationship's going to change, and how you respond to the disappointment's going to change once you start like exploring those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was so cool to be able to do with you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to color with me. For all of our listeners who are interested in learning how you can interpret your own coloring and use coloring to help connect your head and your heart, I have created a program called the Coloring Pet. In 21 days, you can learn how to guide yourself through color mending sessions and interpret your own coloring. So you can scan that QR code for more info. And if you're interested in getting on Color Me Psychic and having a session like this, go ahead and scan this QR code to schedule your reading today. But we'll see you all soon.